Hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? My name is Tammy, and I appreciate you being here on my YouTube channel. Um, Actually, what brings me here today is just a lot of talk about estrogen blockers, and I've been talking a lot about this, and technically, I've been talking a lot about it, and I'm in the process of, I've already designed it, but I got to get it launched. Um, it's a natural supplement product that actually helps along these lines. But it's interesting because a lot of the information you find out there talks about how we really shouldn't be taking these for any length of time, too long. You don't want to take them all the time, or you don't want to use them all the time because, well, in men, it's going to affect testosterone, right? Because men, or I should say, men need some level of estrogen, and there's always these things that come up like why you shouldn't be using them, but and then also, of course, the studies that we're looking at talk about how certain things will, or certain plants, certain chemicals specifically, will actually block estrogen in rats or block the production of aromatase in rats, which will then reduce your estrogen levels. Okay, but I want to make some distinctions here. First and foremost, a rat does not have mental and emotional distress. I mean, of course, unless you're chasing it around its cage and you're like really fucking with it, right? But for the most part, it doesn't live with chronic worry and doubt like a human being. Okay, so it's not fair to test a rat and then say how it's going to influence the human hormonal system. Okay, it's just not. It's not a legitimate argument. Um, That's the biggest one I have at this point. I mean, when I get calls from my Amish clients, and I'm listening to them just completely stress over what's going on with them at work, but then they can admittedly say, "Hey, look, this isn't coming from anybody else but my own head." I'm thinking, yeah, see, this is just it. This is a perfect example of what we're doing to ourselves, and we're stressing ourselves the hell out. Okay, so that's one thing. Okay, that level of mental and emotional distress will actually activate the production of estrogen, hands down, because the body doesn't know that your incessant worry about your timelines is not the DNA can't tell the difference between that worry and the fact that the house is burning down. Okay, it just can't do that. It just registers as potential threat to the DNA. Therefore, oxidative stress is the production of oxidative stress is signaled. Therefore, one of the first lines of defense is mast cells. Well, in those mast cells, histamine is released. When histamine is released into the system, cortisol goes up. Okay, so this is instantaneous. This isn't like this is like happening for hours and all of a sudden cortisol's like, hey man, I should probably kick that out because histamine's going up. No, it's all instantaneous. All systems are go. Okay, the second cortisol is now jacking the system. The next thing you have is the production of aromatase in order to normalize cortisol levels. This is where the estrogen comes in. Okay, so mental and emotional distress, your estrogen levels go up. I don't care whether you have a penis or not, it goes up. Okay, and what's worse is that we live in a world that is full of endocrine disruptors. I actually have written about this. There's evidence to show that endocrine disruptors are affecting all of us. There's a report that I shared recently about it's indicated in diabetes, it's indicated in breast cancer, prostate cancer, autoimmune disorders. I mean, it's just endocrine disruptors are wreaking havoc on the human body. Therefore, it is advantageous to be doing what we can do to block estrogen in our systems. Okay, the more whole food, the more whole plant component it is, the better it is for your body. Now, here's the interesting thing: a perfect example of estrogen blockers. Because back in December when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I came on here and was like, "Oh, this shouldn't have happened to me. It wasn't in my family," and I did that whole thing because I was emotionally a train wreck at that point. But the fact is, because I live the lifestyle, I was eating the foods that that were suggesting. In fact, DIM. No, it isn't DIM. It is the indole 3 carbinol. Indole 3 carbinol. It's an estrogen blocking chemical that's found in all your cruciferous vegetables. Well, let me tell you something. If I ate an ounce of broccoli a minute, that would be an understatement. I just eat a lot of cruciferous. I love them. I love them. I love chopping up cauliflower. I love my Brussels sprouts. I love my broccoli. I love them all. Okay? My diet has been full of those vegetables, and I still came down with breast cancer. So there is a perfect example as to environmental estrogens. Not to mention the fact that what your mind does with you is if you can't get yourself in, pardon me, if you can't get yourself in check, if you can't check yourself and actually get your head in gear and your emotions straightened out, you are setting yourself up, regardless of the supplements. And this is the thing that I was telling one of my Amish clients today. No amount of supplement is going to make a damn bit of difference if you're not going to check your head. It's just not. We really need to understand that our mind and our emotions are, in fact, undermining the quality of our health. Now, am I blaming myself for the breast cancer? Absolutely not. When I developed it or shortly thereafter, I had just come from an incredibly toxic part of the country. Chemicals out the ass, which is why I can hardly wait to get out of this place. I'm not in the very same armpit, but I am in a part of the country where there's still chemicals. I mean, the next door neighbor, I'm helping, as I said, my dad, and right now I'm trying to get him set up on healthcare with this pandemic and all. It's like been crazy trying to get things established now that the country's trying to reopen, but anyway, the neighbor talks about he just sprays Roundup out there all the time. I'm like, oh no! I need to get back to my desert. I know I'm being dramatic right now, but the point is that our environment is as influential on our health as our mind and our emotions. Okay, and at that point, between my mind and my stress levels and that environment, it was unbelievably toxic. Because, as I said before, and I'll say it again, I was doing everything that would potentially block estrogen from being problematic. So that said, we need to be mindful of our environments. We need to be mindful of our minds. And I don't agree with, minimally blocking estrogen. Because the other fact about environmental estrogens is that they don't show up in blood tests. So if, for instance, say you're a woman who is showing signs of estrogen dominance, but you go in and have a blood test done, they're like, you're postmenopausal, you don't have any estrogen going on. That doesn't say that you don't have estrogen in your body. It just says that your body isn't producing estrogen, but it's still, maybe you're picking it up from the environment. You see what I'm saying? There's been a number of scientists, physicians, and pediatric neurologists specifically that have agreed that you cannot test for these in blood. So when they do a blood test, the only estrogen they're picking up is what your body is actually producing. So that said, being able to block estrogen at all costs from and here's the deal, okay? I'm not suggesting using 100% aromatase inhibitors. That's not what I'm suggesting, okay? Because see, there you're trying to play God, and and this is where allopathic or conventional medicine comes in. I want to be clear about that. It's not that, okay? So it's learning how to regulate cortisol, okay? It's actually supporting the entire endocrine system, not just a portion of it. All right. I'm trying to think what else goes into this. So, you know, in what I'm putting together here, supports the adrenals. Um, there again, and then it also there does have some estrogen blocking qualities to it, where it actually blocks the aromatase. It supports the liver, and just thinking here, what else is in there? So I'm trying to, sorry. It helps to regulate the use of cortisol, which is the most important piece. It actually helps to minimize histamine and help metabolize histamine. You see, all of these things, when you come at the body holistically, as opposed to trying to regulate a specific chemical. So when I call my work as estrogen blocking, it's not specifically blocking the production of aromatase. It's actually helping to regulate the stress response. Okay, and this is how I talk about oils as well. We want to regulate the stress response. We want to stabilize this. We don't want to control a chemical. Okay, and that's the most important piece. So when you go out there and you start searching for estrogen blockers, yeah, there's a number of products out there that will block aromatase production, but if you're not stabilizing the stress response, which is really what I'm getting at with through the mental and emotional thinking as well as the environment, that's activating the stress response. So if we can find ways to stabilize the stress response through the use of oils and the mindful use of superfoods, now you have a key to preventing the development of cancer, or and autoimmune disorders, and you can work with conventional medicine, because conventional medicine has its place. Um, I'm just all of a sudden get really nervous because I'm not like trying to take the place of medicine here. If you're already if you already have cancer or you already have an autoimmune disorder, then you probably shouldn't be, don't be worrying about venturing into this arena. Just do what your physician is telling you to do. If you want to use oils, let me know. I can help you pick out oils because there is a way to mix oils. I was going to say integrate oils with medications, and it's not found in a book anywhere. However, if you're coming at this and you don't have a diagnosis and you're wanting to protect your body, then the best advice I have for you is to find ways to stabilize that stress response. Physical activity definitely does it. Yoga definitely does it. Meditation does it. Prayer. And the inclusion of certain foods and superfoods that will actually help minimize or regulate cortisol and will help metabolize histamine. Okay, and begin to help the body adapt to what it's going through. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.